We've covered some X99 stuff in the past, but this is the first time we've played with it hands-on. So under the motherboard in the box you have a lot of included accessories, such as an I'm sorry I'm busy gaming door hanger, a padded rear IO shield which is actually really nice, 8 SATA cables including some flat and some right angle cables, 2 NVIDIA SLI bridges, 2 easy connector heads from front USB and front case connections such as power button or hard drive activity LED, and a nice case badge which I believe is adhesive on the back, and of course there's the motherboard itself. We were sent an i7 5820K chip to review the board with, so we decided to leave it in the socket for our filming. Now as you can see, the board sports great aesthetic, including a matte black PCB, very little printing on the board barring the MSI Gaming 7 logo under the socket, and a great looking chipset heatsink and stylish wood accents across the entire board. On the bottom right corner of the board is where you find the included SATA Express connector, first seen on Intel's Z97 chipset. You'll also find an adjustable M2 slot, front panel connectors, and 3 hardware buttons for power, reset, and OC Genie. On the top end of the board is where you find the 8 DDR4 DIMM slots, the socket 2011-3 socket, and the 8-pin EPS power connector hidden above the nicely designed power face heatsink. Across the centre of the board is where you'll find the 6 total PCIe slots and a very well designed chipset heatsink. The board also features Audio Boost 2.0, which has a dedicated audio power jack, which we'll give more info on that later, and features a red LED to show the separated PCB to reduce interference. Besides the 2 SATA connections reserved for the operation of the 10 gigabit per second SATA Express link, the board has 8 more right-angled SATA connectors in their usual place. Above them is 2 front panel USB 3 connectors, 1 right-angled, good, and 1 upright, not good. And annoyingly this is the only port that allows for MSI's supercharge feature, making a clean and easy build with this motherboard pretty hard. The rear I/O is comprised of 8 USB 3 ports. Click the link below for more information on which ports are Intel's and which ports are third parties. It also has an E2205 killer NIC, a clear CMOS button, 2 USB 2 ports, a legacy PS2 combo board, and a full 7.1 audio block with extra power to drive those high-end headphones. As said before, I love the look of the chipset heatsink, even with the MSI branding, including the MSI Dragon logo. The inclusion of adjustable M2 slot is great. I could definitely see someone putting a small boot SSD or cache SSD here in an enthusiast rig. If you hold the board up to light, you can see the split audio PCB, which in my mind is a pretty cool feature, regardless if it works or not. I'm not an audiophile and don't have decent equipment to test this feature properly. I do like the look of the board, especially the heatsinks, and I also love the feature set. A great example of this is the SATA. Above the SATA Express connectors you'll find the dual BIOS dip switch. Trust me, this is a must-have feature for overclocking or even some general use. And it also has a dual 7-seg display to show error messages and can be set up to show the CPU temp once booted. The hardware buttons are a great feature too, as when first building on the board or if you plan to overclock, you can use these buttons instead of shorting the power and reset pins. To give more info on the audio power, you plug in the Molex adapter and flick the dip switch to get more power to drive headphones and supposedly better audio quality. One thing I found is that the housing for the connector came off to reveal it's literally a 3-pin fan connector, and although I don't recommend you do it, you could extend the power to the audio section with a standard fan extension, which, while I'm sure unintentional, is pretty cool. If you did choose to do this, make sure you get the polarity right, as you could possibly make some of the audio capacitors explode. Yeah, be careful kids. Now, as I said, we were given an Intel i7 5820K to test the system, but before anything else, let's collectively take a moment to drop our jaws at how many freaking pins this thing has. Anyway, we put the board in an old Zalman Z9 Plus we had free, and then added a Enermax ETS T40 heatsink, then shoved an R9 280 in just to get started. We did test this with a GTX 980 as well, but due to the time limitation we just couldn't get everything filmed and tested just as we hoped. We finished off the rig with a 250GB Samsung SSD, as no enthusiast class build is complete without one. A quick note on the building experience of the board, it was pretty good. The right angle connections such as the SATA and USB 3 connector were great help with cable management in the build, although one thing I did note was that the front panel connectors weren't labelled on the board, meaning I had to do a lot of referring to the manual, which is something I'd kind of rather not do. Now, to complete the build, we did add 8 gigs of Crucial Ballistics DDR4 RAM. This cost over £100 for the kit alone, so you guys better like and comment on this video if we ever hope to get a return on this. I'm just joking, but you shouldn't, you know, not like and subscribe anyway. But yeah, back to the video. It turns out that you actually have to use slots 1, 3, 5 and 7 first, otherwise the system just hangs and doesn't get into graphics initialization. We didn't realize that, so it was a bit of a fault on our part, but as you can see, we do have 8 gigs of usable memory once it's started, and you can see that in the Board Explorer, which is one of the coolest features of the MSI BIOS. You can hover over certain components like the CPU socket or specific USB ports, and you can see what's in them. It actually goes into great detail, so you can see there's a USB device, which is my Logitech G15. It told me that it was a Logitech G15, and that's just fantastic. You can also see in the hardware monitor specific voltage like CPU core voltage, which is crazy. And just go back to hardware, I wanted to show you the CMOS, clear CMOS button lights up. That debug LED was fantastic, it was a real help, and if you don't have one of those on your board already, I really recommend having one. And as you can see, once you set up the PC, it does, or once you boot into the PC, sorry, it shows you your CPU temperature. Now, the split PCB for the audio just was awesome. If you have a power supply that sits close enough, it just gives this awesome little glow. One thing I did find out on MSI's website is that apparently this board is SteamOS enabled. That's pretty awesome because I've been looking to build a SteamOS box for a while, although this box probably wouldn't be something I'd put SteamOS on, I'd probably put it on more of a thin client. Let's take a look at some of MSI's software. They have the MSI Gaming app, which basically allows you to easily overclock and change the color temperature, although you can't see it here because I was using Open Broadcaster to record, and it changes the graphics output instead. But yeah, you can easily overclock, and then using MSI's control center application, you can basically just, our command center, sorry, you can basically just overclock to your heart's content. You can change very specific voltages both for the CPU, your RAM, and you can even create RAM disks in this software as well, which is really awesome. It's really easy to enable and is great for things like media caching, and especially if you're going to be having a 2011 build with this 8 sockets of DDR4 RAM, you may be in excess of RAM, which means you can create a RAM disk very easily and use it as something like an After Effects cache, or even just fast storage, and you can make it dump to the hard drive or SSD on when you shut down Windows, and then also reload all that data back, because obviously RAM is volatile memory, which means when it turns off, everything gets wiped. So the MSI Command Center is actually pretty cool. It has so many features, including a lot of both advanced overclocking features for very specific voltages, and I won't even dare touch any of them because it's just so advanced and it's fantastic, but I'm really not that smart about it. You can change things like the OC Genie and then obviously fan curves as well, and I had a bit of a problem with the memory overclocking one on that, but I guess that's probably just because of the build and stuff like that, so not to worry. If you do have any issues with that, then let us know. You can check out the temperatures of specific things as well as voltages, measure them and basically record them over time, which is effectively just monitoring them, and then you can see a lot more monitoring. And one really cool thing is that you can use Wi-Fi to connect your mobile device, so Android phone, to the motherboard, and then either remotely look at and monitor, or overclock your board from your phone, which is kind of crazy. So there's a lot of included monitoring as well in the command center, including the motherboard, CPU, and you can see some serious detail on the CPU, including temperature per core and CPU utilization per core as well, which I know comes as default in Windows, but it's nice to see it as a specific percentage in software. You can also see more information about the memory, including what timings you're on, and then just a general hardware monitor, and the fact that you can see specific memory utilization as well is pretty awesome. So the final thing is the MSI Live Update. It's pretty cool. It allows you to update things like the BIOS straight from Windows. I would recommend that you when you're updating the BIOS, do it from a memory stick and then in the BIOS itself, otherwise it can crash and break the board. Anyway, on to the awards. For value for money, I'm going to give this a 4, as the board, as of filming, is a reasonable price compared to other X99 boards, and while is still packed with all the features you would expect from an enthusiast class board. For performance, it's going to be a 5. With most motherboards, all the actual performance is pretty much the same, so it's kind of a default here. Functionality has got to be a 3, as it has some fantastic features, including SATA Express and Board Explorer, although I would like to see Board Explorer in Windows as well. And it also has that dual BIOS, which is safe filled bacon at least once in the past. but it does lack design with those USB 3 headers, since the one I would use, the right angled one, is the one that doesn't support MSI supercharging, which is really disappointing. Also, for an enthusiast grade motherboard, I didn't see any obvious voltage checkpoints, although upon a microscopic inspection there are some. Right next to the audio section, hidden in an extremely hard to reach area if any VGA cards are installed. So MSI, what were you thinking? Also, it doesn't come with Wi-Fi, which is something that a lot of genuine people would likely use. I don't expect them to put it on the board like they do with their Z97 range, but I would have liked to have seen at least a PCIe X1 add-in card, so that people don't have to also fork out for that as well, especially in the high price of this board in comparison to lower tier X99 boards and Z97 boards. For style, this gets a 4 because I would love to have seen the chipset heatsink and power phase heatsink glow red like the audio section does, and possibly something like Gigabyte's lineup, X99 lineup, where all of the rear I/O shields light up, because plugging stuff in the back is always hard. But yeah, it's just a consideration. I really do like the overall idea of the board. And finally, the TechteamGB score's gotta be 4. For what it's worth, this is an excellent board, and if you don't plan to overclock much and just want a 980 SLI rig and 128GB RAM and 8-core processor, then this is definitely the one for you. Otherwise, leave a comment and tell us your use case and we can advise them there. Otherwise, that's pretty much it for me. Thanks for sticking around for this long. I know it's been a long video, but it is a lot to cover, and obviously this is a high profile launch, and we really want to get the best video. Anyway, as I said, thanks for watching. Leave a comment and let us know what you thought of the video. Obviously, like or dislike if you want to, and feel free to subscribe as well. That really does help us out. And otherwise, if you want to buy this board or anything else, please check out our Amazon links. That really does help us out. Anyway, stick around for the final last message at the end. Otherwise, we will see you all in the next video. So thanks for watching this TechteamGB video. You've probably seen enough of me already, so I'm going to go away right after I say, if you haven't already liked or disliked, just let us know why in the comments down below as well. Check out some of our other videos, hopefully there'll be some somewhere around me. And then also, feel free to subscribe as well, that really helps us out, and yeah, obviously shows companies that you love us. So if you do love us, check us out on Facebook or Twitter, hopefully there will also be some stuff around here maybe. But otherwise, that's pretty much it from me, so we'll see you all in the next video.